Your expected approach time 3-4, approach button 17, the altimeter 2997.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Prickly Hedgehog here as you join me on a Tuesday SITREP today, thanks to new work scheduling for me, which means I'm back to 12-hour shifts and into the midnight hours, which has got me a little tired and a little off kilter in my body clock and all the rest of it, but we'll do our best to keep the show running for you. Let's look at last week's newsletter from ED, which referenced the impending release of the Black Shark 3, which is something we've been discussing over the last few weeks. The Ka-50 being a Russian attack helicopter, and the forerunner to the Ka-52, which differs in that it is a side-by-side configuration for the pilot and the pilot gunner. The former is a single-seat helicopter, but nonetheless a formidable machine. Now, the exact date wasn't indicated, but we typically get patches mid to late month, so keep your eyes peeled if you're a fan of this helicopter. I really like the Black Shark. It's a unique dual-rotor system, which is a clever bit of kit, albeit rather complicated, and eliminates the need for tail rotors to counteract the torque of the main blades. So the handling is a little bit different from other choppers, and you also have to be mindful of over-maneuvering, which could cause the blades to crash into each other, and that is not something that you want. So quite a little bit of consideration there in terms of that handling. It is fairly easy to fly, but there is definitely a different feel to using the main rotors and handling characteristics with the cyclic. So again, something to get used to with that particular aircraft, especially compared to the Apache and some of the other birds that we have in the game, obviously. ED mentioned as part of their focus on helicopters that they've done a lot of work on the Petrovich system in the Hind. One of these, which is almost finished, will allow Petrovich to scan for threats and warn you of them. Petrovich AI will move his field of view in different directions to scan for potential threats, like missiles or projectiles that are fired at you. The field of view, however, is limited, and if Petrovich looks at something on the starboard side, he won't notice gun or missile fire coming from the port side. When detecting threats, Petrovich will only notice missiles from far away when a smoke trail is still present. The projectile detection range is limited to 2.5 kilometers. Petrovich will not warn you of everything detected and flood you with messages, though. Rather, Petrovich will be looking at relative speeds and trajectory to decide if a missile or hail of rounds poses a specific threat. Just like a real co-pilot, he will make educated guesses and warn about incoming missiles, even if the missile is locked on another target that is close to you. So there's some foibles in the system, which is cool. Messages and voiceovers will be in the form of clock direction calls between 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Petrovich will also use countermeasures automatically when he detects incoming missiles. We also have a video here from Wolfpack, apparently, ready that reviews all of this Petrovich AI functionality. So I will put a link in the description below for you to check that out. Interestingly, this technology is transferable and will also be implemented in ED's Apache AI system, which of course is George, the co-pilot, or CPG. Now, speaking of helicopters, for those interested in testing their skills in that sphere, ED reminded us that Virpil is holding their annual VPC Shadow Trophy, and I'll throw a link to that below. The first stage of the tournament, of course, is qualifications and will run until December 4th. It's a time trial event, so each time you post, that could be a ticket into the semi-finals and beyond. The total prize pool is valued at around €8,000, with various helicopter grips and bases available from Virpil as prizes. So some good stuff there. They do make excellent products, so check that out on their website for more information on how to enter and what those prizes are, if that's something that you're interested in. Now, not in last week's newsletter, but likely to be released as part of an upcoming patch, is exciting news from RASBAM on major updates to the South Atlantic map, which of course is one of my favorite maps, even though it still has quite a lot of work to do due to the sheer scale of it. Now, the team advised me they have included the following airfields: Santa Cruz Airfield, Comandante Luis Piedra Bueno Airfield, Aerodromo de Tolhuin Airfield, Porvenir Airfield, Almirante Schroeder's Airfield, and Rio Turbio Airfield. And I apologize if I screwed up some of the pronunciations there. They've generated all detail maps for the full map, which hopefully will please a lot of you. They've also done some updated lighting components to support 2.8 releases of the new lighting system, which is exciting. The normal maps previously pushed are now enabled for the whole map. There are some known issues though. They've added gorse bushes across the Falklands Island. God, I hated gorse in New Zealand. It was a bitch to remove. Nasty stuff. They've started detailing out the farms in the Falklands. This is still a work in progress. They've replaced primary and secondary road surface textures across the map. They've added new detailing models for surfaces in a few places. Various new models across the map, which include but are not limited to new shipping container models, new gas storage tank models. They've introduced lighting variations across the map for a more realistic look. And one of the developers yesterday, Spectre, was showing me some of that variation, which is really cool. And what they've been able to do now, which you may have missed, is that they can add the hue of the environment into the lighting. So it's not just the same type of lighting, if you like, or the same color of lighting everywhere you go. It reflects what might be in the background. So if you have a street lamp next to a blue building, you're going to get some sort of blue hue and stuff like that. So these little subtleties, I think, are really, really cool and easily missed in the level of detail that ED is going into, and of course the RASBAM team, to make these maps look very realistic across a wide variety of lighting environments, which is really, really neat. They've introduced lighting variations across the map. As I said, they've added new towns and villages around new airfields. They've converted all lighting to 2.8 standard for all of their objects. They've added lighting variations across the map for a more realistic feel with, as I mentioned, this color variation. They've improved video memory usage, which should improve performance across the map, hopefully. They've adjusted the taxiway lighting at Puerto Williams. The detail maps for the low-level terrain have been improved for the whole map. Existing towns around the airfields have been tweaked for a better look. They've added the vegetation maps for 3/4 of the map. That's still work in progress. They've resolved forum-reported surface triangulation around the Falklands Islands. They've changed the color of all the tracks across the map to be more in keeping with the region. They've fleshed out Rio Gallegos refueling terminal. They've refined the railway line from Rio Gallegos refueling terminal. There are some bugs, including misaligned grid map stuff to in-game coordinates. Threshold lighting at El Calafate airfield is set to correct direction. That's been fixed. They've added runway and identifier lights at El Calafate airfield, and they've added various new models across the map, which include but are not limited to the new shipping container models, gas storage tank models, so on and so forth. Now, there are some known issues, as I mentioned. Now, of course, many of you will be wondering, good and well, but what about RASBAM's F-15? Are we going to get a Mudhen this year? Now, there are some positive signs. Certainly, the snippets that we've seen on the progress of the aircraft look very, very promising, thanks to RASBAM putting up fairly regular updates, ranging from the model, ranging from the radar, ranging from the weapons systems, so on and so forth. We've also seen a little snippet from Baltic Dragon, who is producing a manual for the aircraft. So we still have, a month and a half or so before the end of the year. Whether that will translate into enough time for RASBAM to release the aircraft, I would speculate that they would definitely want to get it out if they can. The question is, will they be able to do it? Bear in mind that obviously Heat Blur Simulations has run into a little hiccup with staffing and personnel issues and overruns as a result of that in terms of the projects that they are working on. Or at least that's what they hinted at. They didn't flat out say that they wouldn't be able to get the Phantom out, but there was a hint effectively a few weeks ago that there might be some problems. That's a good opportunity for Razbam to fill the void and, effectively steal a little bit of Heat Blur's thunder in terms of getting the F-15E out, which is going to be a very, very popular module, no question about it. We will have to wait and see. Unfortunately, I have no further insights into that particular project. It's a separate group of employees working on the F-15 that are working on the maps, naturally enough. So I don't have any insights into that particular aircraft and the progress and the possible release. So stay tuned. I'll let you know as soon as I find out anything or if there are any hints that indicate that this wonderful aircraft will be released. And I'm really looking forward. I can't wait to see it in the game. It will be a purchase for me, and I'm looking forward to just seeing what they've done with it and how it's going to, cut its teeth in the game and what it's going to bring. It will be yet another aircraft that has a 2-person slot for us, joining the F-14, of course. And that's always exciting. And the co-op play is becoming very, very popular. So this could be a very, very fun aircraft for people who are interested in dual cockpit gameplay, multiplayer, or otherwise. So stay tuned. I'll let you know as soon as I can. That really brings us to the end of this week's update, or end of last week's update. Really, we're looking for this next week's coming update, and we'll see if the patch gets released tomorrow and if we have some more updates for you to discuss later this week and early next week. So that'll do for me for now. Just a short update. We'll see you next time on the DCS SITREP. Cheers.
Справа лес Джао Чагач. ВВ купол была с переменным успехом.